Welcome to U.S. Immigration TV. Are you in deportation or removal proceedings? Have you already been ordered removed, or are you living in a constant state of fear that maybe someday you could get that knock on the door and be placed in removal proceedings? Well, I've got some great news. On January 20, 2021, right after Biden took office, the Department of Homeland Security issued a memo to ICE, CBP, and the USCIS calling for a 100-day halt or pause on certain immigration removal proceedings. Now, this memo, it's entitled Review of an Interim Revision to Civil Immigration Enforcement and Removal Policies and Priorities, stated that the reason for this 100-day pause was to, as they say, quote, enable focusing of the department's resources where they're needed most. Now, see, the Biden administration is anticipating a surge at the southwest border of the U.S., where thousands of Guatemalans are coming up through Mexico, and they're going to be applying for asylum. So because of that, they want to focus their manpower or officers to deal with that upcoming crisis. Also, and most important, DHS is going to review its current policies and practices concerning immigration enforcement, including policies for prioritizing certain cases and exercising prosecutorial discretion. In other words, it appears that the Biden administration will no longer follow Trump's policies, which was strict enforcement and basically going after everybody who's out of status. Now, as this memo states, due to limited resources, DHS cannot respond to all immigration violations or remove all persons unlawfully in the U.S. Rather, DHS must implement civil immigration enforcement based on sensible priorities and changing circumstances. Now, this memo instructs that during this 100-day pause, the enforcement priorities, or those people who will be targeted for deportation, would include basically three categories. Number one, national security. This would include people who have engaged in terrorism or espionage or pose a threat to national security of the U.S. Number two, border security. This includes individuals apprehended or caught at the border or ports of entries like airports while attempting to unlawfully enter the U.S. on or after November 1, 2020. And number three, public safety. This includes people who are in jail for certain aggravated felonies and have just been released. So we don't want them going into the communities. Instead, they should be removed. Now, this 100-day pause and the establishment of enforcement priorities does not just apply to deporting or removing people, but it also reaches whether to even place people in deportation, or, as the memo says, whether to settle, dismiss, appeal, or join in a motion on a case, and whether to grant deferred action or parole. Now, this is great news, because not only is the Biden administration going to pause, halt, or suspend most removals for 100 days, but they're also going to change the ways that the DHS is going to enforce immigration laws by bringing back prosecutorial discretion, which existed during the Obama administration. Although everyone who's out of status is subject to deportation or removal, DHS is only going to go after the really bad people and hopefully leave alone the people whose only violations perhaps were that they overstayed or are out of status. So if you are not one of those enforcement priorities and you are in removal proceedings or you've been ordered removed in the past, you may want to consult with an attorney, because this could be a lifesaver for you. And I remember during the Obama administration, when they came out with prosecutorial discretion, it was around 2011, and they were being instructed to go through their deportation or removal cases and see if the people are really a threat to the US or they're an enforcement priority. I had a client in removal proceedings, and one day I get a call from the TA, who's the prosecutor for the government, and asking me if I would be willing to agree to terminate or dismiss the case. I mean, of course I would. That's how prosecutorial discretion could work. And there could be other cases. For example, maybe a person was ordered removed or deported years ago because they had no form of relief back then. But maybe now they have married a US citizen who wants to petition them. Under prosecutorial discretion, it could be possible now to go back to the government and see if they would be willing to reopen and dismiss the deportation or removal proceedings, allowing that person to move forward on being petitioned and legalized. And of course, under Trump, the government absolutely refused to agree to any of those things. Now, I want to be clear, and this is very important. This is not a proposal like Biden's immigration plan where it has to go to Congress. In fact, I just posted a video about that. This memo takes immediate effect. And I know for most immigrants, one of the biggest fears they have is deportation or removal. I mean, from my clients, I'm hearing anytime there was a late phone call or early morning knock at the door, they would cringe, they would be nervous. I know that deportation is practically a death sentence for many people. They had come to America with hopes and dreams of making it in the US. And under Trump, people were being put in deportation or removal for even the most minor things. Just simply like an old aunt out of status was caught. Or even as ridiculous as, for example, somebody submitted an adjustment package and they might have left out a document, so the case was denied because they were missing a document, and they were also put in removal proceedings. That was a silly way to allocate precious resources. I mean, yes, of course, everybody who's out of status is subject to removal, but the government has to use common sense. They should not be going around deporting every single person. Go after and prioritize the bad people, like Biden is saying he's going to be doing again. You know, the felons, the terrorists. And also, if we have that immigration proposal as a pathway to legalization in 8 years, that could also be a way for people to achieve their American dream. So, if you are in removal, if you have been ordered removed, you may want to see an attorney who can evaluate your situation and see if you could possibly have some form of relief, either having your case dismissed, or if possible, if you've been ordered removed, have it reopened and dismissed. But this is a marvelous change from Trump, where everybody was subject to deportation, and now thankfully they're only going to start going after the bad people, and they are bringing back prosecutorial discretion. Now, if you have found this helpful, or if you have any friends or family who are in removal or have been ordered removed, please make sure to share this video with them. Also, please make sure to like and subscribe, because it seems that positive changes in immigration are happening almost on a daily basis. And I will keep you constantly informed and updated, because many of those changes could benefit you or your family or friends. I'm Michael Gurfinkel, and this is US Immigration TV.